In the studio with Wes Modes. Wes is a Santa Cruz legend and treasure, political activist, artist activist. He has founded many local, wonderful institutions. Maybe it's not the right word to say. Free School Santa Cruz, Sub Rosa, the Anarchist Cafe, Guerrilla Drive-In, The Spoon, an international storytellers group. Wes has been a radio star, is a star for sure, and a writer among other amazing accomplishments. Welcome to the show, Wes.
Rising star or falling star? It's hard to say.
Yeah, you're a rising star. We both of us
so
have yet
to
to reach our zenith. I think we're still going.
Right, we'll go out in a blaze of glory.
That's right. Never going downhill. Good advice from Wes Modes. Wes, you have recently, well, actually in the last year, you started studying. You went back to school for your Master's in Fine Arts. You are a part of the Digital Arts and New Media program here on campus.
Yeah, the club.
The club.
To which you are also a part.
That's right. And
also a member. The
last Danamites that graduated, who just graduated last weekend, congratulations all of you, Danum 2014, woohoo! They all were on this show talking to me about their projects, talking to us, talking to Santa Cruz. It was such a great pleasure. It was the first time I've been able to get all of you cats rodeoed into one place. And so all of those are slowly making their way up onto artistonart.com. So next year will be your turn, Wes, to come back on and tell us about your thesis and graduating project to get your MFA.
Yeah, actually, I'll be talking today about the project that will become my MFA thesis project.
Oh, okay. Well, that is A Secret History of American River People. This is the reason why why we both wanted you to come on the show and talk about this amazing project that you have been working on and in various production states. And you're about to embark on a journey that's going to be incredible. And you're also been using Kickstarter, a social platform for people to ask for money for their projects. Crowdfunding is the specific.
The kids say.
So you can go to Kickstarter.com, and if you look up A Secret History of American River People, you'll be able to see the post or the page that you made for this on Kickstarter. And it's a journey to rediscover the lost narratives of river people, river communities, and the river itself. And the way you've done this is you've built a shanty boat here in Santa Cruz, and you're driving it to somewhere in the Midwest, Missouri. You're going to the Missouri River.
Mississippi River.
So
the big muddy. So
the best. If we're gonna go shanty, the one with the most.
The best.
Well, I mean, as far as just having Huckleberry Finn and immortalized by The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, but with Mark Twain's writings, Samuel Clemens, and
it absolutely has a long, long literary tradition. In doing research for this project, I ran into I've been trying to collaborate with folks at different places, authors and so on, and an author who's done a lot of research in that area told me that there has been a memoir written every year since, I don't know, like 1840 about somebody who's traveled from one end of the Mississippi River, Minneapolis is where I'm going, down to New Orleans. So there's...
How long of that seems like over 1,000-mile trip, isn't it?
It's 800 miles just from Minneapolis to St. Louis, and that's only about halfway.
Oh, okay. So it is over 1,600 miles probably.
Something like that. So driving would be probably it's a longish trip, but the river, of course, meanders its way all the way down to the Gulf, and it does so in a very leisurely fashion at times. So, there are times when you can see a loop of the river just over the way, but it's still like 14 miles away or something. It's like this big meandering river that goes down to the Gulf.
And so A Secret History of American River People is what you call an anthro-historical artist journey. You, the artist, and you're also going to be accompanied with you're going to have right?
I'm going to have my friend Kai, who's going to go with me,
and
she's
Hazel,
and my dog Hazel, who, if you remember, Artists on Art. Last time I was here,
that's
about
right.
a year
Hazel
ago,
was here.
Hazel was here and sitting in the chair, and probably is still somewhere in the video archive of
not
us. So this project started as kind of a summer lark, like I was working on a pretty high-tech project called Co-Related Space. It showed at 01 just a week ago or a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was great to get that behind me because it was a lot of work, and this is the rising
the project that's, I
life.
like to say, the one that's boiling on the stove with all the other pots that are in various preparations.
So I started thinking I kind of have to have a summer project. I want to do something and kind of want to rope in some of this work that I've been doing outside of school into some of my schoolwork, into my MFA work. And so I started thinking what do I really want to do? And what I really wanted to do was to take the shanty boat that I'd been building down some big river, which is consistent. I've built rafts out of trash and floated down major rivers, including the Mississippi and the Sacramento and the Willamette. And so I created this project, and the more I worked on it, the bigger and grander and more ambitious and more interesting it got. And it's a project that every person I've told so far has been like, oh my God, that is amazing. Because it's not just about floating down the river, it's also about gathering the personal narratives of the people who live along or on the river. So it's about discovering or rediscovering this lost history that is under-chronicled. So if the people who write history are the people who have power and money, then the people who live at the fringes of society, in the margins along the rivers and in these little shanty boats along the river, they didn't write that history. And so that history doesn't make it into any significant history books. And so my idea is to gather video and audio for these people, people's first and second and third hand stories of their grandparents who lived on the river and who hung out with the people who did, and create a full archive of that, as well as new media work that can share that to a wider audience, be super accessible.
Excellent. And I'm already envisioning your exhibition for next year for the 2015 Graduating Dynamite exhibition. Hopefully we'll be able to, the people that can't go with you will be able to see the shanty boat close up, and right. And you're going to be living on this boat.
Right. So as we travel down the river, we live on the boat. I go out into the world and record people's stories, or offer to bring them to the shanty boat to tell their story. And then as we go down the river, the shanty boat becomes both a library and an archive of the project. And so people are able to see people's stories who live further up the river. And then between journeys, the shanty boat becomes this library that can be cited in a gallery or studios or wherever, community centers, and then people can come on board and check out the archive.
That's fabulous. You're listening to Wes Modes. He's talking about his newest project that's about to embark on a very wonderful, watery, meandering journey on the Mississippi River, a secret history of American river people. We're going to take a quick little break. We're going to listen to a little river music, I think. This was advised by our yet to still be, or is our station advisor, Michael Bryant. The little Eagles. Have fun, folks. Sit back and tune in. Keep tuning in to 88.1. I'm here. I'm Nada Milkovich with Wes Modes. We're talking about his project. Well, actually, what Wes is a artist, activist, community builder, staple of Santa Cruz. He co-founded Free School Santa Cruz, Sub Rosa, the Anarchist Cafe, Guerrilla Drive-In, and he founded The Spoon, an international storytellers group, all before his newest embarkment, which has been to get his MFA. These projects are still going on, and it's a testament to your collaborative ways, Wes, that Free School, Sub Rosa, Guerrilla, they're all happening.
Right. Yeah. When I started my MFA work, I backed out of all these collectively run projects, and so Free School and Guerrilla Drive-In and Sub Rosa and some of the other projects I was involved in, they continue, and then they continue with my sort of sideline support, with me being more of a cheerleader than a player.
And the things that you're playing with right now are concerning a project, A Secret History of American River People. It's a journey to rediscover the lost narratives of river people, river communities, and the river itself. And you created a Kickstarter campaign in which you have 24 more hours for people to be able to support and join in on your project.
Right. So this is so we went with a crowdsourcing model for funding the project. It's an unusual project in that it focuses on art and history, and it's weird for Kickstarter because it's not a video game, and it's not a movie, and it's not a performance, but it's this amalgam of history and art and adventure. So if that's the kind of thing that you're into, then you're welcome to follow along. The project has its own website, just peoplesriverhistory.us. Peoplesriverhistory.us, no dashes, spaces, or whatever. And then the Kickstarter campaign has about 24 hours to go. We're trying to raise $5,000, and that's helping us.
We're not supposed to mention any kind of money.
We didn't.
We're on community radio. So you are. This money is going to do what for you?
This will help the final outfitting of the boat and largely get us across country with this 20-foot by 8-foot behemoth towed behind my truck, all the way from Santa Cruz to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where we'll drop it into the Mississippi River, probably just above the Falls of St. Anthony.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, and you're going to be, of course, documenting all of this. So you're going to have a little GoPro on the front of the...
We'll actually have a DSLR spinning away,
watching the meandering river, the water.
Right. So, since we're focused on oral history, our journey on the river is also that meta journey is also a kind of oral history. So, our story will also be part of the archives as well. That's
right. And so, the way Kickstarter works is people help fund your campaign, and then depending on different levels of support, you are offering things?
Correct. Yeah. So sort of like the idea of Kickstarter is this idea that you can have sort of the internet offer a vote of confidence to your project, as well as, if you want to see this thing happen, then you're welcome to pitch in some of your hard-earned Skrilla, and then hopefully if you make your goal, then you get that money, so you're pledging essentially, and if you don't make your goal, then the internet has spoken and you get nothing.
Right. Now, but there's other social funding platforms such as Indiegogo where, you don't have that risk. You actually are able to keep whatever. There's other ways.
Correct. And so this is an interesting way of going about funding art projects, and it in some ways makes a lot of sense. So I think one of my advisors told me that in terms of like art grants, and they're an experienced grant seeker, and they get maybe 1 out of every 10 grants.
Oy.
And a grant, will take a day to write at least.
At least.
And
if you're a fast grant writer.
And maybe if you're a really experienced artist, mid-career artist, you might get, a big grant would be like $10,000. But like $10,000, that's like how much somebody in a normal job makes in a month, or a couple weeks for some folks. And so it's a lot of work for not a lot of bang.
Yeah.
And with crowdsourcing, you have this opportunity to have people who you wouldn't normally reach support your project, and probably more importantly, be involved in it. And there's these rewards that you can offer that are sort of really just a thank you. And so some of our thank yous were, we send you a hand-scrawled drunk postcard while we're en route.
Nice.
Right? Or we broke a window. We broke this beautiful beaded glass window on the back door of the shanty boat while we were putting it in. And so my partner on the expedition, Kai, is making a series of pendants using stained glass materials with those broken shards. And
Kai is an amazingly beautiful jewelry artist herself. And so this is quite a gift you'd be getting.
Right. And so some of the other more wacky pledges are you can send us art and we will bring it on the shanty boat on the journey and add it to the Lost or the Secret History Archive.
So it's a part of the archive and the library.
Right, exactly. And
on the boat forever.
Right. So our goal was to try to make it so that all these rewards both made the people who were offering us support be part of the journey as well.
That's wonderful. And then will you be, I'm imagining, with your website, peoplesriver.us, will you be doing updates there? Of course. That's going to be your...
Right. So, corrections, People's River History.
People's River's History. People's River History.
People's River History, right. So try any variation of those and you might find us.
Sorry.
That's totally fine. And so we'll be doing updates. So this is also a new media work. So the idea is that you go to the site and there's an interactive map and you can see where we've been and where we've gone and who we've talked to. And part of the goal is to also connect people who live on the river with each other, to connect people who don't live on the river with those people who do if they want to. So a way of connecting strangers and hearing their stories.
That's wonderful. And when do you plan again to embark in July?
So mid-July, our goal is July 15th. And so we will spend 3 days towing the boat across the country, and then we'll be on the river for about a month and a half.
Wow. And so and then what are you going to do when you get to New Orleans?
Well, we won't get to New Orleans. It's, 1,600 miles or whatever.
Oh.
Maybe you travel, a couple dozen, on a good day, travel a couple dozen miles. The furthest we expect to travel will be just above St. Louis and the confluence with the Missouri River. Except we have our serious doubts. That's 800 miles itself, right? So we have some doubts about whether we'll even get there. Because our goal is not just to travel the river, but to explore the communities and the individuals who live along the river and their history. And I've been talking to folks at the National Park Service and people who are at, University of Minnesota, and people who are gatekeepers of a lot of the history that has been gathered around this big river. And so I'm going to be meeting with them on the journey as well and seeing what stories that they have available, both first and second hand.
Well, that's beautiful, Wes Modes, because what you're describing is actually not having I got to go 800 miles or I failed or whatever, but it's really more important the journey and what you're discovering with the journey as opposed to how far you get.
Absolutely. Right. One of the questions we did, like a Reddit Ask Me Anything, which was a fabulous experience. And so people, I think right now, if you found the Reddit AMA, like the first question is like, how do you poop?
On the shanty.
On the shanty boat. But some of the more interesting questions were, what do you do with yourself when you're on the river? And that's a good question because I've done these punk raft journeys. And from the very beginning, we're all involved in a lot of things, and our Google calendars are chock full and make other people uncomfortable just to look at them, And part of the goal of the river journeys was sort of like an experiment in the power of boredom to inspire. And the idea, like one of the things that I hearken back to a lot, both in the video that's on the site and on the Kickstarter page, is that Saturday morning when you wake up as a child and you have all this time and all this space to do whatever. The world is open to you. And the river brings that back for me, and I think other people, this idea of this expanse of water just existing and going somewhere in a lazy, inexorable sort of way.
Flowing in it.
And
flowing with it.
And I think that that's really inspiring. And I think that's part of the thing that brings me back year after year to the river.
Oh, Wes Modes. Gosh, it's so great to see you and talk with you. And I just love all of your work, everything you do. I'm so grateful. Wes Modes is an artist activist who's also currently researching and working towards his Master's in Fine Arts here at Digital Arts and New Media program on UCSC. He co-founded Free School Santa Cruz, Sub Rosa, Anarchist Cafe, Guerrilla Drive-In, and founded The Spoon. He is working as a producer. I'm sure you have a million different projects, but this one in particular is A Secret History of American River People. You can go to his website, peoplesriverhistory.us. Woohoo! I got it. And you can also go to Kickstarter.com. I also have your video up on Artist on Art it's a beautiful video that you made for the Kickstarter campaign. And he's going to be doing an anthro-historical artist journey on the Mississippi River. It sounds fabulous, Wes. And I hope when you come back, you can talk to us again here on Artist on Art and tell us what you've discovered, all of the amazing adventures that you're in for. It's just wonderful. And I thank you.
Thank you, Nana.
Oh,
I appreciate
Wes.
you having me on.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. I've got a wonderful time. I'm going to be talking to Anna Perna. She is a professor here, and she is creating an event that's happening this Friday, June 20th at the Santa Cruz High School, and it's an intoxicating spiritual journey through dance. It's also Odissi dance. If you listened to the show last week, I had Revital Carroll who was talking about Odissi, so we're going to get to hear a little bit more about the Odissi dance. Please stay tuned. Thanks again, Wes.
Thanks, Nana.